Okay.
Anything.
Okay, so school was that. Now, the biggest traumatic event that we've had in our lives, and the biggest obstacle we've had to face is the biological father story. So, I vaguely mentioned in my story about that being the roughest patch that we've had was me having to tell her at some point, hey, guess what? This father figure you've had,
He's not your dad.
low key is not your dad. So how am I gonna break it to you? And at what point do you tell a child, like, hey,
to where they remember?
yeah. So at what point do you kind of, because her stepdad now came into the picture when she was 2. So she doesn't remember, obviously, when all that happened. And I vaguely explained how I broke it to her from my point of view. But you remember when
Yes, I remember it clearly because it's weird. So weird.
I tried to set it up as best as I could because.
And I remember a couple days before we were watching a movie and I was asking like, what's the difference between like half and step and stuff. And you explained it, and then okay, I loved Legos, right? I was a big old Lego.
Okay, so before we get into the story, I did mention that along the way, I try to normalize the whole stepmom, stepdad. So anytime I had a chance to tell her, like, oh, it's normal. It's normal that there's a stepdad and a stepmom, and sometimes it doesn't work. So I kind of always try to put it in her head to normalize it because I knew at some point she was about to get a bomb dropped on her, and I just wanted to keep it. It's normal. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
It's cute.
Moving forward. So we bought Legos.
Yeah, and we were in the garage and I was having a blast. I was building up that thing. Having the time of my life as a 9-year-old. And then you were like, anyway. So, I don't know, you explained it weird. I was like, what?
But I didn't know how to jump into it. Like, how was I going to
You're like, look, and you showed me like his name and like the messages, some of the messages.
Okay, I do remember I said, Haley, remember how I told you that sometimes there's a stepdad and real dads?
And then you started smiling
and she
you're
gave
like,
me this look like, yeah, and she's building her Legos. And I'm like, well, this is not your real dad. This one's your real dad. Dude, and she gave me a look like, excuse me?
What you mean by that?
And I remember the first thing she told me was, why are you barely telling me now?
Oh yeah, I was low-key pressed.
Yeah, and I was like, chugging my wine. I was like, okay, look. I did. I had a big old bottle of wine. I bought the wine and I bought the Legos. A huge, like $60 Lego thing and my wine. And I said, look, he was never in the picture. He was in and out. Oh, and also, guess what? You have a half sister, and she's only 6 months younger than you.
And I was like, okay. And she looks just like you, by the way.
She looks just like you. You guys are like twins. You guys have the same face. And they want to come down. So there was like a lot thrown at her at that one time.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't even know how to act. I didn't know how to act towards stepdad.
It was a lot of information that was taken in at one time. For a 9-year-old.
So then I was thinking, I was like, wait, so they're not like really my grandparents? And I was like, this whole side of the family?
Everything just started.
I was like, wait, so, I'm like, when did he come in the picture?
Backtrack.
Like, why did he leave? So many questions.
I'm sure there was an explosion of questions. And
then I remember he wanted to talk to me, so I had to also just like be open to all of that. And then him coming down, visiting, saying like, oh, I love you and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's you.
You don't even know me.
I was like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
I know you. And I remember we would go to the mall and he would buy me a bunch of stuff. Because I don't like being spoiled. I don't like people like spending money on me, like when I was younger. Because it just felt weird. I was like, I feel like I'm spoiled.
And you know what? And considering that she was only 9 though, I do remember, I don't know if you remember, but there was a time where he would piss her off a lot because he would say one thing and then do something else, or
he would leave for long periods of time.
He was supposed to come down for your birthday, and then at the last minute he was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna make it." And
no, he wouldn't even text. He would just like not show up and then post like an old picture of me on Facebook saying like, "Happy birthday, Mija," and I'm like,
okay, dude, yeah. So he kind of dug himself a hole and showed his true colors of who he really was. But there was one incident where she was super mad because he was supposed to come down for something.
It was like Halloween time.
It was Halloween.
Because I was dressed up and you were telling me, and I was like...
So, and because dude, So because she was so young, I tell her, hey, Haley, Mike called or whatever. He sent you money.
He sent me $600.
He sent her $600, and I just remember her looking at me like, you know what? That's just money. That's not an apology. She was pissed. And I was like, girl, with $600, we can go shopping. And she was like, yes, but she was still super mad.
I'm going to take the money. I never
Oh,
said
we're taking the
that.
money, we're going shopping? But she was still super mad at the fact of, like, he lied, he's not here, he didn't call. So over the years...
Yeah, and even though if I didn't like him, I still think I was like, I could learn to. And I was,
We
and
tried.
then we effed up. And so there was a time, I don't know if you remember, but I was like sleeping in my mom's room.
Yeah.
Yeah. As one does. And then I like wake up to my mom yelling, and she was in the bathroom, and she was like chewing Mike on the phone. And I was like, what happened?
So why was I chewing him out? I chewed him out several times because you don't mess with my babies. I'm one of those moms, and I wanted to eat him up through the phone. I was mad because he would lie. He would try to tell her things. I think there was one time, because you were supposed to make him a bracelet. You were supposed to make him like a Mexican bracelet because she would do the little threading stuff. And she didn't make it. So I think when I wasn't there, he was talking to her and gave you this whole thing on how you're supposed to keep your promises and you're supposed to do this and that. And I was like, excuse me, he did what?
Because as soon as the first time he came down, he bought me a phone so that me and him could only talk, which he took advantage of, especially because.
Yeah.
And I would have to leave the door open because my mom knows how he is. And I was like,
I'm gonna be present for all conversations. I don't want you talking to him when I'm not around because I knew how he was. So he made her feel so bad, and she's got a big heart. Made her feel bad because she's like, I didn't make the bracelet, and he told me this and that, and I'm like, who was around? Why was I not around for this conversation? I was pissed. I got on the phone and I let him have it, and I'm like, no, you out of all people who break promises all the time have no right to give her shit because she didn't make you a stupid bracelet. I was beyond pissed. No one gets after her but me. That's it. I'm the only one. No one can talk to her or tell her anything. I wanted to kill him.
he also would talk to me about like wanting tattoos and stuff. Like me getting a tattoo, and that if I ever want a tattoo, it would have to be him. Because he was a tattoo artist, so he would like FaceTime me, and like he would just be tattooing someone. I was like, barely 10. I was like, oh my god.
No. So, he is out of the picture. Now, you guys did have a beef between you, your sister, and Mike on Instagram.
So, I'm not gonna say her name. I have a sister.
Okay, so the sister, the other Twinkie, 6 months apart.
Yeah, she's younger than me. And, well, the one time Mike visited, like, he brought her as well. I went to the beach, we had a bunch of fun. We had, like, a photo shoot and everything.
We've got pictures.
He ruined some of it because we went to the beach, and I remember he like, pushed Gali to get out of the picture, and he would just be, like, with me. And I was like, and I couldn't say anything because he was a very tall man.
He's a big guy.
He was tall, tatted, scary looking man. Yeah. And I was like, what the frick, bro? What was that? So I already knew, I don't know, he was just mean. Especially to Gali. And I didn't like that. So then he would also make promises like, oh, like, you know, I'll get in contact with Gali so that you can at least talk to her and stuff, and then would dip. So I had no way of finding her. Then one day, me and mom were like at Olive Garden.
We were at Olive Garden, yeah.
It was like freshman year, when my mom would, you know, pick me up because she missed me so much from school to have lunch.
Join me for a margarita, Haley.
Yes. So
I need a friend. Yeah.
So then we're like, what if she's on Instagram? What if we just search up
Find her. You gotta find her.
We just gotta find her. I'm sorry, man. We just gotta find her. I was like, you know what? Yeah. So I searched up on Instagram, and I was like, I don't know. But I followed her, I requested her, and I texted her. I was like, by any chance is your dad's name blah blah blah? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, my name's a blah blah blah. And she was like, ain't no freaking way. She was like, wait a minute. I was like, and I sent my proof of like pictures of him. And she was like, oh my god, like it was crazy.
They reconnected without him.
Without him.